Coming up right now, more news with Ayman Mohyeldin. I just told you a friend of mine emailed me a compliment about your analysis of this story.
It is a story that we're going to keep following because it's changing by the minute. Now Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib is saying she is not going, so we'll have a lot more on that this hour. Thank you very much, Chris. Enjoy your weekend. Hello there, everyone. I'm Ayman Mohyeldin in for Hallie Jackson. This morning, we are following these fast-moving developments, pitting some of America's closest allies against two American lawmakers. Already back and forth going down while you were sleeping. The state of Israel saying early this morning that Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib can come into the country, but within the past hour, she is now saying thanks but no thanks after the Israeli government put some big considerations and conditions on her visit. It comes after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu bowed to pressure from President Trump, announcing that Israel would deny entry to Congresswomen Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, who also happened to be the first Muslim women in Congress. The president, who publicly and privately campaigned for the move, insists he had nothing to do with it.
I don't encourage or discourage the things that they've said. Omar, Tlaib, what they've said is disgraceful. So I can't imagine why Israel would let them in.
All right, so this morning, Israel's decision is not only being criticized by Democrats, but by some top Republicans as well as pro-Israel advocates. Our team of reporters and analysts are all standing by on all of this. Let's start with NBC's Kristen Welker, who is with the president in New Jersey. Kristen, what is the very latest on this?
Well, Ayman, first the background. Israel saying yesterday that they were going to block entrance for the two congresswomen because they support a controversial boycott of Israel. Now reversing course early today, Israel saying they are on the grounds of humanitarian basis, allowing Rashida Tlaib to visit her grandmother, who's 90 years old, who lives in the West Bank. But as you pointed out, Tlaib saying thanks but no thanks, saying visiting my grandmother under these oppressive conditions meant to humiliate me, would break my grandmother's heart. Silencing me with treatment to make me feel less than is not what she wants for me. Omar responding as well, retweeting that and saying, sending you strength and solidarity. So that is the background to all of this. Now, as you point out, Israel's decision yesterday came amid pressure from President Trump, who tweeted yesterday that it would be a sign of weakness for Israel to allow the two lawmakers to enter because they have been critical of the Israeli government. For President Trump, he sees political gain in this as well. There's no doubt about that, Ayman. This is something that he uses to energize his base, to try to divide the Democratic Party. But the reality is Democrats are frankly unified around their criticism right now of Israel, and so are some Republicans. Marco Rubio saying that this is effectively a mistake. President Trump last night at a rally in New Hampshire sort of pointing at Omar, trying to energize his base in that way. So I think it underscores the fact that for President Trump, he does see some political gain. But, Ayman, the big question is this going to backfire for President Trump? Yes, it may be something that energizes his base, but how does it play in some of those other areas, the suburbs, those areas that he needs to win re-election, Ayman?
Yeah, we're seeing some of that effect already on Capitol Hill. Kristen Welker with the president in New Jersey. Thank you, as always. With me now, Yusuf Munayyer, Executive Director of the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights, and Nayyera, former State Department Senior Advisor in the Obama administration. Yusuf, let me begin with you. First of all, the breaking news that we've now received that Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib not going to the occupied Palestinian territories to visit her grandmother. Tell us, first of all, the significance of her statement and what this reflects in terms of ordinary realities for Palestinians.
Yeah, thank you, Ayman. This is so important, and I think what this really gives us is a window into the kind of daily, humiliating, and torturous decisions that Palestinians are forced to make every day, that are imposed on them by Israeli policies, pitting one piece of their humanity against another. And there are so many examples. You know, do I drop my pants at a military checkpoint if it means being able to make it to a hospital appointment that I need to get to? Do I accept a permit to go visit my dying parent if it means that I can't go with my brother whose permit was denied? Do I post what I really think about the situation on the ground on social media if it means never being able to see my family again? Do I allow my 5-year-old child to be taken away by Israeli soldiers if it means pushing back might leave him an orphan? These are the
help,
kinds
Yusuf,
of inhumane decisions that Palestinians are forced to wrestle with. And I think what's so important about this is that for the first time, Americans are getting to see a little bit of that reality through the prism of a congresswoman. And this is why I think the Israelis, to be honest with you, are so concerned about Rashida Tlaib, because she's forced, Congresswoman Tlaib has forced people to think about Palestinians as human beings for the first time in a space like Congress, where that very idea was taboo.
So, Nayyera, put this in perspective for us for a moment, because how unprecedented is it to see an American president, as we've seen, siding with a foreign government, albeit an ally, to punish political opponents of his here at home?
It is not unusual for countries to deny access to members of Congress, but usually those are countries that don't want fact-finding missions to reveal the human rights abuses that they're committing, right? North Korea, Syria, those are places usually members of Congress have not been able to get into. But for the President of the United States to tell another democracy, not only just any democracy, the only democracy in the Middle East that we've known for 50 years, a strong ally, that they should deny his political opponents access is the part that's dangerous for national security and dangerous for our democracy writ large. It sends a signal that the President of the United States will not stand up for American citizens if he's not standing up for the people that they elected to do their job for them.
And to that point, Yusuf, the political calculation here, there's been widespread condemnation from both the Democratic Party and some of the members of the Republican Party, even AIPAC, breaking ranks with the Prime Minister in Israel to condemn his decision not to allow those two members of Congress into Israel. But at the end of the day, this has been building up for some time. You believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that this has been enabled to some extent by the Democratic Party, and they're now in a difficult position.
Oh, this has absolutely been enabled by Democrats. Look, they've played along with this GOP game of, targeting and marginalizing their own, including Representatives Tlaib and Omar during the smear campaigns, which tried to take out of context things that they said to accuse them, and have responded to these attacks from the right. And for all of that, for all of the cooperation with AIPAC, they got thrown under the bus by the Israelis. And I think the Israelis think that they can do that because the Democrats have shown on this issue that they're not willing to stand up. So the question is, how much longer are they going to put up with this, or are they going to start taking action to hold Israel accountable? I think it's way past due.
I think it's important to also make a distinction between Israeli people and public and culture and the current leadership, the same way we ask people to do, and recognize the difference between all of us in America and Donald Trump. This is not the first time that Bibi Netanyahu, he's a right-wing leader. He plays on nationalist sentiment, very similar to Donald Trump. It is not the first time he has sought to divide Democrats and have Democrats choose between wanting bilateral relationships with Israel and defending democratic policy, right? He did this in coming directly to Congress and Barack Obama ignoring the White House and telling the American Congress that they should do something against what was then deemed and voted to be America's national interest with the Iran nuclear deal. So Bibi is no holds barred. In my visits to Israel, I have found that people in Israel welcome debate. They value the fact that they are a democracy. So Donald Trump and Bibi effectively colluding to silence freedom of speech cannot be sitting well with folks who value democracy in the region.
All right, Nayyera, I'm going to ask you to stick around for us. Yusuf Munayyer, thank you very much for your insights as always.